Hey, Bruce Naylor, your boomer consumer. New specs. I'll talk about these in just a second here. But anyhow, I think this is going to be a real fun video. Fosi Audio, and I want to thank them so much for sending me the V3 Mono amplifiers and power supply for review. This is on Kickstarter right now. Oh, the glasses? Hey, I just had some cataracts removed from both eyes this month, and wow, does the world look a whole lot different? Take care of your eyes, folks. Apparently, sun damage, if you don't wear your sunglasses out in the sun, you can end up with cataract. That's just one of the reasons why, but take care of your eyes. It's important. All right. Let's talk a little bit about the V3 Mono because, Fosi actually listens to their customers. And there was a number of complaints about the V3 that people had. And so Fosi Audio addressed those complaints in this small Class D amplifier. So, these are available right now on Kickstarter. And I think this, if I'm wrong on the price, I tried to kind of go through. There's a lot of different options on there. But if you get the two Class D amps, two of the V3 monos, with the 48-volt, 10-amp power supply, it's got like a splitter that sends power to both. I think they're going to be around $230 or so when they come to market, and I think they're going to be released somewhere in June. Anyhow, the link to the Kickstarter will be down below. I think Fosi made this for people who really want great sound. They're looking to get in at the lowest possible price and still get that quality construction, a lot of power. And they made it versatile. And what I mean by versatile? Well, it's compact. Look, this thing fits in the palm of your hand. Okay, it fits in the palm of your hand. Even the two of them on a stack, they're under 4 inches in height, right? And you could use these in a home theater installation, maybe drive in different channels. Could drive one maybe to drive a passive subwoofer, of course, in a 2-channel stereo system. There's a lot of uses for these little but potent little amplifiers. They're energy efficient. So let's go ahead and take a deeper look. So I got these in for review. I actually got 2 boxes. One larger box that had one of the V3 monos and the power supply. And then the second box was just the amplifier itself, a V3 mono. And that was the only thing that came in the box. So let's just move on to some of the basic specs of the V3 monos. So you get the Texas Instruments 3255 amp chipset. And then you get the NE3255 op amps with it, right? Now the power rating with what I received, which was the 48-volt 10-amp power supply, puts out 240 watts each into both of these amplifiers. There's a splitter, which basically turns into 45 watt and at 5 amps, which is the maximum power that these individual monoblocks can accept. So the max power rating into 4 ohms is 240 watts each. Now, at 8 ohms, roughly 120, but you're getting close to 1% total harmonic distortion. So realistically, around about 100 watts is about as hard as you want to push the V3 monos. Now, these are all aluminum powder-coated construction, using the body as a heatsink on here. Now, as far as the physical measurements, these are quite small. These are palm-sized, 4.2 inches in width, and then 5.6 in depth, and only about 1.6 in height. On the front, you just have these really nice mechanical switches on here. What was really cool about the V3 mono, because, Fosi really listened to the various complaints of the V3, and you now have a standby mode. So on the left switch, you have the power for on, and then a auto. So after 10 minutes of not getting a signal, this will go into standby mode, and then you have off. And on the right side, you can select between either the RCA input or the XLR input. Real basic, simple to use. Now, taking a look on the back of the V3 Mono, very basic. You have an RCA input, and right above that is a gain setting of either 31 dB or 25 dB, which affects the RCA in, and that's just to make it more compatible with different sources you may connect to the amplifier. And then you have a XLR input that will also accept a quarter 20 input as well. You then have the left and right, the speaker output terminals right here for either your left or right speaker, however you want to set it up. And finally, you have the power input. One of the important things that Fosi wanted to do is make sure that this had good thermals. And the way they did that is by mounting the output amplifier chips on the bottom and then making contact with the case, thus turning the entire case into one big heat sink. And so it does get really warm, but not burning hot, but it stays perfectly within the operating temperatures that the chips were designed to maintain. And I think that's very important. I'd like to share my initial impressions when I, got these out of the box and got them set up. What are those first thoughts that strike you? And I have to tell you, I'm actually impressed with the overall construction of this thing. I mean, I'm just so impressed. It's a nice metal, build. It does work like a heat sink. You got these little holes here on the side. I think there's like a filter in there to keep kind of dust and stuff out of here. It really surprised me for the price, how well made these things are. I like that there's an XLR input on there. Nice if you're doing a long run. I've got XLR connected devices and RCA. And honestly, for the most part, if you've got a fairly short run between components or whatever, RCA is fine. It's just fine. XLR does a better job in keeping noise down, but typically that's going to hit you if you got a really long run between components and so forth. So just my 2 cents on that. I like the fact that if you get the two of them, get that 48 volt 10 watt or 48 volt 10 watt power supply, because it does split, and that way you can feed two of them with just one power brick. I like that. I think the sound is, and of course I'm on these as monoblocks, right? Doing monoblocks. I gotta tell you, I think the sound just improved quite a bit over the V3. I think everything just opened up, and it just made such a big improvement in the detail of the music. Class Ds have been known to sound somewhat analytical. Not these. These just sound spacious, open, airy. Really, I'm telling you, you would not know these are Class D or inexpensive amplifiers. They really kick butt, especially for the price. Okay, so out of the shot is a Mac Mini that functions as a music server. So I have Apple Music on there. I have Plex Media Server on there. And I'm using a USB cable out to this iFi Zen 3 DAC. This is their newest Zen DAC. And we're going to be doing a review of that very shortly. And I'm using that as a preamp going into the Fosi V3 Monos. And then for speakers, for testing, I use the KEF Q150 speakers. And that is how I've been testing the Fosi Audio V3 Monos in near field. And this is all on my test bench at this time. Now, I like to share with you some of the music that I use to test these with. And so there you have it. And the first album I played was Diana Krall's Glad Ragdoll. It was from 2012. And I'm sure a number of you are familiar with Diana Krall. If not, she's sometimes classified as pop. I think of her more as a jazz and kind of a bluesy rock type of singer. Tremendous talent, great voice. And that album, right, first off, all the recordings on there I think are just fantastic and showcase the range of Diana's voice. But the title track, Glad Rag Doll, is just I got such a spacious presentation with this amp, and of course I was using the i5 Zen 3 DAC with it. But it was just a very, very spacious sounding presentation, and there was just really outstanding guitar work on that. The whole thing just showcased her voice. Now, the second track on there that I really love is called Prairie Lullaby. And it's just this wonderful melody. And I think the V3 here, Mono, controlled the bass on that really, really well. And it gave you a very expansive sound stage. So it's a great album. If you're not familiar with Dinah Krall, you got to check her out. Now, the second album that I editioned, and I think it's one many of you are probably familiar with, and that's the Beatles' Revolver, now originally recorded in 1966. The first track, Taxman, and I want to talk about what's called Pratt. And that was a term I never really heard back when I first started getting a hi-fi, but I'm not sure who coined the term, but it stands for pace, rhythm, and timing. I think Paul from PS Audio summed it up very nicely with the non-technical version of this is when the music and your system get your toes tapping. That's Pratt. Okay, it's as good as explanation as any. And really, really, you get up to around 70, 75 dB or so, you can really just start to enjoy. You just want to get up and move listening to Taxman. That's all I'm going to say on that. Another track, and I think probably one of the most, not one of the most, but certainly one of the best harmonies, vocals that I think the Beatles ever done is a track called Here, There, and Everywhere. Yeah, Here, There, Everywhere. I think it's just simply some of the best harmonies the Beatles has ever done is on that track. Okay. And finally, I just recently started listening to Depeche Mode. And the album Exciter, which is from 2001, classified as alternative. I think it's more electronica. Just a very chill recording. Very, very chill. And the track, Love Theme. Wow. You want to talk about some powerful bass to listen to. If you want to test your sub, you want to test your sub bass, the mid bass, you want to test that, right? You want to put it to the test. Put on Love Theme from Depeche Mode. Wow, the Exciter album. It's going to just blow your mind. Look, this amp is adept at playing all kinds of music, right? It just simply is. It's not that cold, analytical sound. Oh, and one of the big improvements over the V3 is something people want to ask for is what's called PFFB, post-filtered feedback. What the heck does that mean? I'm not really sure how it works, but I can tell you what it does. And that is it reduces distortion, gives you better frequency response. Simple as that. It makes the amp sound better, noticeably different than the V3, okay? There's a difference in the detail. There's a difference in with the distortion being lower. There's a difference in the improved frequency response. So PFFB, yeah, that makes a big difference. That takes this small, inexpensive amplifier and it takes it to a whole nother level. It doesn't sound cold and clinical. Rather, the bass is deep and controlled. The mids are warm, never really tiring. And the highs are crisper, really no noticeable sibilance. And I mean, I listened to this thing for a couple weeks. And I got to tell you, I never got fatigued with it. So I'm just going to sum up my final thoughts on the Fosi Audio V3 Monos, okay? The mono blocks working together, I think, provide some real value. Seriously, you're going to be around less than $250, and you've got, if you're driving 8-ohm speakers, you're going to get around, I'm going to say 100 usable watts of power before you start dipping into maybe some noticeable distortion. And okay, fine. Or up to, a couple 100 watts with 4 ohm load on there. Oh, the other thing about PFFB, load dependence. That's the idea, reducing load dependence on there. I don't want to get overly technical because I'm not sure I even know how some of that magic works. I just know it works. And I really don't care as long as it does the job. But look, these just provide the opportunity to customize your rig, whether you're going to use a home theater setting on your desktop, whatever you want to use it for, right? It could be for 2-channel hi-fi, could be for the desktop, part of a home theater, whatever you want to do. I really, at this point in time, cannot think of a better deal for the price than the Fosi Audio V3 Monos. Like I said, I think it's supposed to be available in June. At any rate, the link to the Kickstarter is down below. And that is my review of the Fosi Audio V3 Monos. I love them. Now, this is going to be my test for testing gear going forward. Just until something better comes along, that's for sure. Bruce Taylor, Boomer Consumer. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.